This is Jason
I was
Goodman.
trying to get through to you.
Yeah, yeah. Glad we got you. Glad we got you. So you worked on the NGP van system, right?
Yes, yeah. So I was a coordinator with AFSCME, the Public Sector Union, and we used NGP van. I helped develop NGP van in order for unions to start using it.
Uh huh. I'm here with George Webb.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
Hey, good, George. Yeah, I just got on to you actually. Just found out about your work, so I'm glad to talk to you.
Great. Maybe you come around.
Yeah,
And I'll,
yeah.
So pull your chair. So, Bill, you worked at the DC office of the DNC.
No, so I worked for AFSCME, and that's the United States Public Sector Union, the largest public sector union. So in Vermont, I was in Vermont sort of developing NGP van in order to be used by unions in the United States, whereas traditionally it had been used by the AFL-CIO and by the Democratic Party, the DNC.
Yeah, and so you would track donors, super volunteers, mega donors, and then engagement. And then your engagement would be through a scoring system. You'd have scores and that sort of thing through the Vote Builder application. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, there's a scoring system. Yep, that's right.
So you worked. You go back to all the way to the Clinton-Gore campaign in '92. Is that how far back do you go?
No, no, and so I've split my time between Australia and the United States. I've worked for political parties here in Australia and unions in Australia and also in the United States. But my first exposure to NGP ban was 2012.
Okay, 2012. So that would have been the second Barack Obama campaign. Okay, which was known for the 2008 campaign was certainly known for its ability to use social media for public engagement and vote building and so forth. So did you have contacts at the DNC DC office?
No. But what I did see was so NGP van would periodically, usually once a week, would go through a backup. They would back up the files. When those files are backed up, usually for about 4 hours after that, you could see everybody's campaign. Everybody, all the details, regardless of where it was in the United States. I'm talking about unions and political campaigns. You could see everything. So I was very interested in what was happening with Bernie Sanders in regard to being locked out of that NGP van because I knew exactly what was going on. I had experiences. Sorry?
If AFSCME had access and could look into the records for 4-hour periods during the backup, does that mean SEIU would have had similar access?
Well, I mean, SEIU was an AFL-CIO, and that was our question because I was actually battling SEIU at the time. You see, we had a campaign. We were battling them for representation rights in the whole state of Vermont. I was responsible for a campaign of about 7,500 people, and they were also wanting to represent them as well. So we had that unique campaign going on. Now we saw, so they're not part of the AFL-CIO. I don't think that they had access to that, but we were wondering that at the same time if they did, because of course it's not just restricted to AFL-CIO. There's a whole host of NGOs and political parties that have access to it as well. But what we saw
did MoveOn.org and Acorn have access to it as well?
I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't see that. They may well have. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be able to say one way or the other. But I did see a lot of other campaigns on there. It concerned us. It absolutely did concern us. And like I said, I knew exactly what Bernie's campaign was going through at that time because I had seen the same thing.
Yeah, tell us about that. You said you knew exactly what was going on. What was going on?
Yeah. Well, if we could see other campaigns, and other campaigns could see ours. You see?
Right.
You think that was a glitch, or you think that was a deliberate exploit?
I mean, I explored it. I raised it as soon as I saw it. It worried me, and so I contacted our guys that would liaise with NGP Van, and the message that I got back was that it was a glitch. It was a glitch that was inherent in the system, and they were working on fixing it. But then I was told that they've been working on fixing it for the past 6 years. So
wow.
Yeah, that's convenient. So do you know do you know anything about the data movement? Well, there's two big breaches that I feel that occurred during the lockouts. There was a lockout before the New England primaries, the New Hampshire primary for Dacey. Do you know anything about that lockout?
I don't. I'm only what I read in the press. I don't know anything else about it.
Do you know anything about a large data movement from the DNC in DC on July the 7th, the 3 days before or 2 days before Seth Rich is killed, to the Clinton Foundation?
I can't help you. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that at all.
Okay.
I mean, only what I'm reading in the media.
All right. Anything else you want to share with us about NGP Van?
There's nothing really else I can tell. I hope whatever I say can help you guys, but I do know that it was completely flawed, and it was completely irresponsible for us to be able to see other campaigns and those campaigns to see our stuff. It's a powerful database. In my opinion, it's probably the single most important reason why Bernie chose to run as a Democrat.
Why?
Without that, he stood no chance.
Why is that? What makes it different than a regular database?
Well, so what it does is you can filter through and choose the most important target. So in a particular neighborhood, you can send out, the door knockers of a particular campaign. You can send them out with targeted people, and you can say, okay, at this address, there's a person here who is a union member, usually votes Democrat. We've seen during an exit poll in the last election, they've said that they voted for Obama or whatever, so we please need you to go to this house and knock on the door and ask them to vote. So it's targeted. It's very powerful, actually. It's
kind of
the most important
unprecedented,
asset.
Kind of an unprecedented capability, huh?
Yeah, it's brought everything to another level.
Do you know anything about Palantir?
Say that again?
Do you know anything about Palantir?
Say that. I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Palantir. Palantir. Do you know anything about Palantir?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, don't know anything about that.
There are rumors, and we're just running those down, that the database that was moved with the van from DNC DC to the Clinton Foundation was then poured into Palantir to add social profiles to the profiles in PGP van for the mega donors and donors.
Well, that would jive exactly with. Well, it's not so much mega donors that, in my opinion, I should say, that is the valuable part. What's the valuable part is getting hordes of these door knockers out on the doors to target, hundreds of thousands, millions of people that we know usually vote Democrat, or we suspect that they vote Democrat, I should say.
Right.
And so that's where the valuable part is. It's GT, get out the vote, GOTV. And during that whole operation, if you're wasting your time going to Republican or Independent that you don't think is probably going to vote Democrat, well, then you're wasting your time. Yeah. You're trying to hit those people who, are more than likely going to be voting your way, and get them to remind them to go to the poll. And so that's the valuable part. Now, the donor side of it, I don't, mega donor side of it, I don't know that it would be that valuable.
Last
the purpose
question.
of NGP van.
Last question. Did you know Josh Uretsky?
No.
No. Okay. Well,
I do know people who know him, but I don't.
How can we get in touch with him? Do you know anybody that would know his phone number?
I would have to get back in touch with some of my former colleagues at AFSCME, who do know.
Okay.
That would take me a little while, I suppose, maybe a couple of days to reestablish contact.
We're here in D.C. with a film crew, and we'd like to see him in the next hour. So, if you had anybody who you knew you could call and that would just give us a phone number, that would be great.
Right. Well, I'd have to, like I said, have to reestablish contact with those guys.
Okay.
Also,
I understand.
bear in mind that they are you know, probably hesitant to raise their head. I am not hesitant because I'm out of it now. I'm working in Australia now, so I don't really care.
We will do also anonymous interviews, and we can pixelate cameras and do hidden cameras.
Okay.
Yeah, and also we can.
Well, let me reach out to these guys. What time is it over there at the moment?
Right now it's about 8:45 in the morning, and you've got me on Facebook. So if you take a look at your Facebook, we can communicate that way. Okay.
Great. Okay.
Thanks
well,
so
let me
much.
reach out to these guys and try to establish contact again, and let me see if I can get them. I know one guy who might be interested in. It's AFSCME. You know, it's intricately intertwined with the Democratic Party. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Thank you,
try.
Bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.